So thank you for joining us for another session of Coffee with Chris. And today I'm going to covering the Business Central Administration Center. And I'm going to show you all the features that it has and talk about how you can use it. Because I've discovered that there's a lot of clients in the Business Central SaaS platform that are not aware of how to use this fabulous tool. So for those of you I haven't met, my name is Chris Young. I'm the managing partner of our NAV and Business Central practice at Clients First, and I'm also the CFO. I've been doing the ERP and IT consulting since, well, a long time. And I've known the NAV product since 1997. So I've seen all the iterations and updates and changes and what Microsoft has brought to the table in the Business Central world. So the Business Central Administration Center, it's where we go to manage environments. What are environments? Well, your environments are your production instance of the software and your sandbox environments, whether they're for development, testing, user acceptance, training. You want to refresh them on demand and then try something out. And what about scheduled updates? So we're going to talk about how we can schedule updates in the product and how you handle that on your own. And it's very important to do updates, to schedule updating a refreshed sandbox with the current release of the product and then test it. Because as you may have experienced over the years, software publishers sometimes miss things. They call them undocumented features. We call them bugs. But you may encounter some kind of an issue, whether it's, a report doesn't print the same way, or maybe a field has been moved or repurposed. They do tend to change functionality sometimes. And it's important that you go through and make sure your basic functions still work. So updating a sandbox environment so that when you have to apply it to your live environment, you're ready to go and there are no surprises. We're also going to talk about extension management and how you update and make sure that your extensions stay up to date. It's very important. We're going to talk about environment capacity and also managing sessions. In the NAV world, you used to go to file database information sessions right from the client to be able to see who's logged in. How long has the system been idle? You could even knock sessions out. Well, now that's done through the admin center. And you can also manage backups and restoration to a moment in time. So without further ado, let's take a look at BC. And when you're in BC on your role center, you'll notice at the top of the screen on the URL bar, it's got businesscentral.dynamics.com. Everyone uses that. Then it's got your unique tenant ID and then the name of the environment that you're accessing. So to get to the admin center, we remove the name of the environment and we type in admin. And when we do that, it brings us into our admin center. So in our admin center, we have the ability to go ahead and see a variety of features. New, to create a new environment. This is how we provision environments. So if I click new, we have the ability to create an environment, and you can put in an environment name. They are unique in that you can't start them with, right here, it's advising us that do not add personal data to the environment name, but we're going to put in an environment name. They can't have blank spaces in them. Many times I'll set up and recommend, if we're refreshing a sandbox, that we're going to create a sandbox, sandbox, and put the date on it, like 2025-04-03. So we know when we refreshed the sandbox, but you'll actually do that by copying, and we're going to get to that in a moment. But you put in a name, you put in a type. Is it a production environment or a sandbox environment? Now, in the normal operation when you provision a instance of Business Central, you get included in your license one production environment and three sandbox environments. For some clients that might have multiple environments, multiple production environments even, you can purchase an additional environment instance. You add that license, and when you add that license or when you provision any of the licenses and environments, you'll notice you can choose what country you're rolling it out for. What that does is actually provision a country-specific version. So if your organization has multiple locations around the globe, you can license multiple production environments and deploy them all to manage them under a single admin center, managing security, combining licensing. You can also have premium licenses and separately essential experience licenses on a single platform. And the big difference is if a user experience is set to premium, only premium users can be licensed or can access that environment. So pretty basic to create environments. It usually takes 5 to 10 minutes once you tell it to provision an environment. You'll notice notification recipients. So in this instance, we have Brian, our Business Central practice manager, getting notified. And what are the notifications? If there's an issue, if there's an update available to a newer version, that email is going out to Brian telling him we're, currently our general use production environment is set to this version, but there's an update available to 25.5. So that can be scheduled and updated. And we're going to talk about that soon. Microsoft Entra apps. So these are licenses that can be granted or keys to authorize integrations. Telemetry gives us the ability to look at activity that's happening within our environments. And we can go ahead and look at specific time frames, and it will show us execution of objects, what has been going on in my environments. Any reported outages, and I can look at production outages for the last and choose the time. You'll notice there's no outages. Under operations, we can look at environment operations and see what has changed. So the sandbox environment was updated and what was the date and time. And you can look for specific environments for all environments, and you can look through various time frames. And then ultimately capacity. So when you license a environment, and you'll notice right now I have 80 gigabytes and I've used 2.33, and that's across all environments. And if you click on this little question mark, it's going to take me into the Microsoft Learn platform to look at capacity. But by default, when a Business Central customer sets up a licensed Essentials or Premium system, they get 80 gigs. Then you can purchase additional capacity by going through and buying 1 gig at a time, or you can buy 100 gig capacity, and there is a lower price solution for the 100 gigabytes. And then you also get license and storage, not just the 80 gigs, but based on the users that are assigned. So when you purchase licenses, for every premium user license, you get an additional 3 gigabytes of storage. For each additional essential, you get 2 gigs. And for each device that you register, you get an additional gig. So you can also purchase additional environments. And with each additional environment add-on, you get an additional production database and 3 sandbox environments. So when we look down and we take a look, here's our quota of environments. You can see I have none available. And we can actually look at managing the data that exists within the databases. So if we go in and we take a look at a database and click on a list of tables, it's actually running a page in the environment using the Business Central client, and it's running page 8700. That's going to run for a little bit while it's pulling up all the data So we're going to take a look and we're going to go back to the environments list. And from the environments, I can see if I click on this hyperlink as opposed to this launches the environment. But instead, we're going to click on the hyperlink and it's going to bring us into the admin center for this specific environment. So in this specific environment, I can see that I've got my name, it's a production environment. And do I have anything scheduled as far as an update goes? So my application version is listed here, the platform version. Here's the available update. Update scheduling is available. And right now I've got it set up that updates can start on April 7th, 2025. I can modify that. And here's the window. Do it between 9 p.m. and 4 a.m. So that's when the system will go through, and that's all I need to do in terms of an update to this environment. So this is scheduled and going to happen, um, as of that date. So I don't have to worry about it or make any changes, but I can modify it if I want to put it off, or make any changes to it. We can go to the update settings button and I can set a new update window, which is the time frame, or set the update date that I want it to do. Maybe I want it to happen, on Saturday or, a different time when people are not going to be in the system. Let's see if that table, okay, so the table information has run. So within a table, when we're clicking on and going through, the system is showing me the number of records, the record size, the size in kilobytes, and the data size overall, and the index size. And you can see the type of compression that I can do. So if we see a record that a table that has a lot of records within it, and I want to do something with that, under the data administration tab, we have tools to do compression. So if, when your database 10 years, 15 years from now, when your database is close to capacity, there's a data administration guide where we can go through and pull in large tables that have significant size. And then we can go through and we can do data cleanups. We can blow away archives, delete expired quotes, delete invoiced old, blanket orders that are still out there, or sales orders that have been fully received and invoiced, but they were invoiced not on the sales order, but from an invoice screen. So they're still sitting there. So going through and cleaning up old campaigns or opportunities, cleaning up cost budget entries. So we have tools in here to do database administration to respect and reduce database size. So back to my Business Central Admin Center. We've looked at notification recipients. Telemetry will show me transactional data that's happened within the environment. And we can go ahead and, if this is typically used for any sort of troubleshooting, as well as reported outages. If there were any reported production environment outages, they'll be visible. Under operations, we can see what's happened. This is the same, but now it's specifically whether it's one environment or all environments. But going back into my general use environment, we can go ahead and we can copy a database. So when I want to refresh or make a new sandbox environment, that's one of the most common tasks you're going to do. We're going to go ahead and delete one of the sandboxes, and then we're going to go into production and we're going to tell it to copy. And what's the new environment name? That's where I'd put in sandbox April 3rd, 2025. And the new environment is a sandbox. And this will go through, notice the warning here, a number of precautions are taken when copying an environment, such as removing setup email accounts and disabling integrations so that the system's not sending out alerts or notifications or emailing statements out to customers if there's any job queues that are set up. So those automatically will get disabled for you, but it's just things you want to be careful of, that you're not trying to continue doing an integration or integration testing with a refreshed environment. I'm going to cancel this, but this is where you would go to create that refreshed sandbox. Then you would schedule your update setting on that sandbox and get the current release of the product for doing any kind of testing. You'll notice restore. So when I say I want to restore this from a backup, I didn't execute any backups. Business Central, because you have it provisioned as a SaaS platform product, Microsoft's taking care of that. So you'll notice right now it's April 3rd. Backups are available for this production environment back to March 6th, 2025. Select the date to restore to. So I can go ahead and pick any moment in time that backups exist that were sitting there. I can also pick a specific time. And where do I want to restore that? Now, I can take a backup of production as a specific moment in time and restore it to a sandbox if I'm going through doing some sort of testing. So fantastic capability that's built into the product. You also have the ability, if you've deleted an environment, to restore recently deleted environments. Maybe someone made a mistake and blew away the wrong environment. I believe you have 7 days from when you've deleted an environment that it's still available to restore. The look at sessions. So when looking at sessions in the environment, we can say, who's running in this environment? And I can see here that I've got one user that's currently in. He's been in for 25 minutes. I can cancel his session. You can also restart an environment, although I don't think that would be something, I've never had to do that, but you've got those capabilities in there to be able to see who's running and who's running which session, how long have they been logged in to the system. So basic administration. So when we take a look at apps, so apps are extensions that have been installed. And you'll notice, much like when you get a new cell phone, that it's got tons of apps loaded, stuff that you've never opened or never used. Well, this Business Central is similar. And a lot of them, they're not getting in your way, but Microsoft preloads these bloat apps into the system. But some of them you do use. And there's updates to features that are set up in the system as apps. You'll notice here that I have an update waiting for the base application. Any extensions that you might have installed from any ISV. So let's see, as I'm scrolling through, so I don't really have much in here, but if there was ISV extensions in here from any publishers, and this is my general, but if I go into my Navex demo environment, you'll see here that I've got commissions from Navex installed. And am I on the latest release? It's checking right now, and we are up to date. But you'll notice there's a bunch of these that aren't up to date. Action required from a variety of third-party ISVs, and that need to be updated to be the current release. This is something that you need to police and check on periodically, because not all the publishers are going to advise you when there's a problem. But if someone's reported an undocumented feature in the software and you need to do an update to something, it will just tell us there's an update available, but not necessarily what that was. So you want to make sure that you keep your updates, all of your products, up to date. And you do that once again by, when you're on an environment, I'll go back to my admin console and bringing up an environment, the apps button on the menu bar. So it's very important to make sure that we manage that information. Also, linking a Power Platform environment. So if you are started to deploy any Power Platform apps, this is where you would go to link any Power Platform apps. So not super complex, and there's a lot of helpful information built in. where you can come through and take a look. But you should be empowered to install your own updates, schedule those updates, refresh a sandbox environment, manage your database capacity, and control any user sessions in the system. So not overly complicated, but something quite important for everyone to understand. So this was a rather short and sweet coffee with Chris, but I hope you found it useful. I am here if anyone has any questions at all, monitoring the participant list and chat window. Well, since there are no questions, I guess that was clear and useful for everyone, I hope. Upcoming sessions, I'm probably going to do a session on tariff management and how we can allocate tariffs into our inventory if we're all going to start paying them heavily on any imported goods. Standard functionality in Business Central using item charges. And we're also going to be rolling out Wave 1 2025, which effectively can be installed now. It's the version 26 of Business Central. So I look forward to seeing you on the next webinar, and have a wonderful day.